All right, everybody. I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA, and this is my stimulus update for Saturday, January 2nd. Thank you to everybody who watched our New Year's gender reveal yesterday. Didn't quite go as planned. I'm still a little sore from it, actually. If you saw the video, you know what I'm talking about. But we're still super excited to welcome our second child into the world, obviously. Now, just a brief $600 stimulus question. King Boomy6 tweeted me this morning and asked, "Hey, Logan, if I got the first stimulus, does that mean I'll be getting the second one?" That's a great question. The answer is, it depends on your income. The stimulus amounts were changed, but the income phase-out rules remain the same. So those at higher levels of income who were eligible for the first stimulus might not be eligible for the second. But those with incomes at or below those thresholds, $75,000 a year for singles, $112,500 for head of household, and $150,000 for married filing jointly, then for those folks, if you got a first stimulus, you'll get a second stimulus. Yeah. But if your income is above those amounts, those minimum amounts for your filing status, whether or not you receive a second stimulus as well as the size of the second stimulus depends on your income and family size. I put together this little spreadsheet here. Link is in the description below. Before we get into it, let me say you cannot open this link here in the description and then edit things on here. Okay, I'm obviously not going to let people do that because they could mess it up. But what you can do is if you're signed into Google, you have Google Drive, you hit File, make a copy. This will make a copy to your own Google Drive, and then you can mess with this thing, okay, and put in your own information. So basically 3 inputs here, right? Your filing status, there's a drop down here. You can change it to single, head of household, married filing jointly, number of qualifying children under the age of 17. You put whatever number you have there, and your income, your AGI. Okay. Now here's an example of a situation of somebody who got a first stimulus payment, but not a second stimulus payment. Single individual, no qualifying children under the age of 17, $90,000 a year income. So, based on the limitations, right? The income limitations for the first stimulus, the phase out began at 75,000, right? That's a $15,000 difference. You multiply that by 5 cents because the 5 cents on the dollar reduction in stimulus, then their stimulus gets reduced by $750, right? So what would have been a $1,200 stimulus check gets reduced by $750. They only have a $450 stimulus, first stimulus, but they still got a stimulus payment, right? What about second stimulus though? Second stimulus, the maximum stimulus they could get is $600, right? But the phase out threshold rules didn't change, right? So their reduction is still that same $750. Okay, I max out at $600 here. Well, my point is, their $600 stimulus check is completely phased out, right, due to their income. So they wouldn't get a second stimulus payment. So yeah, you can play with this thing, various filing statuses and income levels, and feel free to make a copy of it, share with your friends or whatever, tell them about my channel. I definitely appreciate that. Then King Boomy said he's concerned because he hasn't gotten his second stimulus payment yet. My response was, look, Treasury knows what to do in your situation, right? They have your information. They're just slacking here. Note that as we went over last week on the channel, Treasury did say that some individuals were chosen to receive new stimulus debit cards different from the first stimulus debit cards, right? New set of cards. They didn't say how people were chosen. But the thing to know is the debit cards are really intended for those not on direct deposit, right? So if you're not on direct deposit, you'll either receive a check in the mail or a new stimulus debit card. But if you are on direct deposit and you received your first stimulus payment without issues to direct deposit, don't worry, Treasury is just slacking here. They're behind. Remember last time, the fiasco that was? All right, let's move on to $2,000 stimulus check legislation. We're going to make this quick, folks, because there's no reason to draw this out. There just isn't. I created that video yesterday titled, "Don't Get Your Hopes Up Over the Last-Ditch $2,000 Stimulus Check Effort," in the current Congress anyway. And it looks like none of you got your hopes up, right, by your comments. And the hope was, of course, that people like Bernie Sanders would keep the defense bill veto override, right, the override that passed the House that Mitch McConnell obviously wanted to pass in the current Congress, keep that from passing yesterday, right? And the thinking was, well, maybe Bernie and other, Democratic or independent senators and Josh Hawley and maybe even Lindsey Graham would stand up to Mitch and refuse to vote on the defense bill veto override unless Mitch put the standalone $2,000 stimulus check bill that passed the House on the Senate floor. But of course, that didn't happen. Despite even Lindsey Graham disagreeing with Mitch McConnell. Yes, Lindsey Graham tweeted yesterday in response to Mitch McConnell calling the Dems' standalone $2,000 stimulus check bill socialism for the rich. That's what Mitch said, as I told you last week. In response to that, Lindsey Graham tweeted, "With all due respect to my Republican colleagues, a $2,000 direct payment for individuals and families who are struggling is not socialism. In my view, it is necessary in the times in which we live," right? And that's true. Families are struggling right now, right? They need money. Why McConnell called it socialism for the rich, right, is because I put this spreadsheet up the other day. I mean, you could theoretically, right, have a family of 4 married filing jointly, right? 2 parents and 2 kids, theoretically making $300,000 a year and still being eligible for a $500 stimulus check, right? But the truth is that this would be a minority situation, right, of the people eligible for the $2,000 stimulus check. Okay, Mitch was just looking for an excuse to not put it on the Senate floor and to mix it with his own bill, right, which had those poison pills in it. But the fact of the matter is, folks, despite all this, right, despite Lindsey Graham and Bernie, the Senate overturned Trump's veto yesterday. The defense bill, it actually came earlier than I expected, but it wasn't even much of a fight, right? The vote was 81-13. And that is the nail in the coffin for $2,000 stimulus checks in this 116th Congress that will come to a close tomorrow. Trump didn't like this, of course. He said our Republican Senate just missed the opportunity to get rid of Section 230, which gives unlimited power to big tech companies. Pathetic. Now they want to give people ravaged by the China virus $600 rather than the $2,000, which they so desperately need. Not fair or smart. Some people have asked me if I think that standalone $2,000 stimulus check idea will be brought up in the new Congress, right? I think Dems are still going to push for it. Don't get me wrong. But my response is, we might see that $2,000 standalone stimulus check bill on the Senate floor if Mitch McConnell isn't in charge, right? And instead of Chuck Schumer's in charge, meaning that Dems win both Georgia Senate runoff races on Tuesday. Mitch McConnell has simply shown himself to be completely unwilling to put standalone $2,000 stimulus checks on the Senate floor without combining it with the poison pills, or what Democrats perceive to be poison pills, of Section 230 repeal and 2020 election voter fraud investigation, right? I think Mitch put together a piece of legislation just to kind of mollify Trump, right? But frankly, I don't think Mitch cares all that much about what a president with just a little over 2 weeks left in office has to say. And apparently, other than a handful of senators like Bernie Sanders, other than them, no one really wants to be bothered to get in Mitch's way here. That's the sad story, folks. That's it. We don't have to complicate things here. That's what happened. That's what's going on. All right, folks, that is my update for today. Thank you so much for watching. Later today at a couple hours, 2:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to publish a video on 7 investment terms you should know. I cover a lot of basic terminology, like what is a stock, what is an ETF, what is margin, what is short selling, and more. So I will see you in that video later today. Bye-bye.